Okay, it is middle of August, and this year, lawn renovation season is starting up early. We should discuss what's going on. Okay, whether you are an enthusiast about your lawn and you pay attention to it all season long, or if you're just trying to make sure it's green. If you have lots of bare spots in the yard, fall is the absolute best time of year to be renovating your lawn, fixing it up, or just maybe taking it to the next level up. Now, in middle of August, I would never normally be talking about lawn renovations just yet or fertilizing the lawns, but I have to say, it's been a really bad year for crabgrass and nutsedge, and we'll take a closer look to see what's going on. But at the same time, the weather is perfect. Now, on all the lawns that we take care of, I kind of preach the same thing at our retail store. We do 2 fertilizer applications in the spring months with crabgrass preventative and a fertilizer combination to try to prevent weeds. But we don't normally do anything over the summer. It's usually hot, the ground is dry, and the grass just wants to go dormant. But this year, that has not been the case. We are a little bit milder. Yes, we got warm. Yes, we got dry. But it is the middle of August, and we've had 2 weeks of on and off again rain. We're having beautiful weather now, and the grass is just trying to flush out. So just because it's not September and the calendar doesn't say it's time, we always make all our decisions based on the weather and the conditions of what's going on. So now, I have to say, lawn renovation season is kicking off to an early start. And so if you haven't done much to your lawn lately, it is the perfect time to maybe put down another dose of fertilizer, because the grass, it's starting to get a little bit of yellow, just means it's hungry. Because it's flushing out. We're going into another surge. Grass, if you mow your own lawn, you notice that it's starting to get a little bit longer in between mowings. And with all this rain and the fact that you probably haven't fertilized since maybe May or June, the grass is just hungry. And so it'll benefit from a good dose of fertilizer. And more importantly, start looking for those little patches of weeds that have come up over the summertime. So we're gonna zap those. Not necessarily gonna do renovations just yet, but for the next couple weeks, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna focus on zapping back any of the weeds, little pockets of crabgrass that have snuck through, and little pockets of nutsedge that's popped through. And keep in mind that if you have either one of those, now, if you have nutsedge, you have to use a nutsedge killer. So we'll look real close in a second at what that is. Same thing with crabgrass. If you have crabgrass, you need to use a crabgrass killer. Crabgrass is going to die once we get a frost. And not all retail grade products at this time of year will work. So let's just take a closer look so you know what to look for each one of those. Because the next couple weeks, give a little fertilizer, get the weeds out of the way. But then by mid-September, we're gonna start overseeding and renovating and do full renovations on lawns. And it'll be some of the best weather and time of year to overseed or renovate a lawn. Right now, it's just time to kind of feed and get the weeds out of the way. But let's take a couple closer looks at some of the weeds so you know what they are. Okay, so this is nutsedge. Now, I can tell it's nutsedge in 2 different ways. One, it's typically by itself. It mows, it grows really fast and gets a little bit taller than all the other grass in the same amount of time. But specifically when you pull it out and roll it in your in the fingers like this, the stem is actually triangular shaped. And so when you have nutsedge, we have granular nutsedge killers. They can just sprinkle around. And then there's spray-ons. But this is just a noxious weed because not only does it love drought, so it's getting worse and worse every year. We notice it more and more. But it also comes out in between normal fertilizer applications when most people are paying attention and treating for weeds. We don't typically treat for weeds in the heat of the summer, and this weed doesn't come up until the heat of the summer. So that's why it's starting to get worse. Now, I can get it right next to it. Clover. I did inoculate the lawn with micro clover, but just so you know, they're kind of like 3 different categories of weeds in a landscape. So you have the sedges, which I mentioned have that triangular stem, and you have to use a sedge killer. Then there are broadleaf weeds. This particular one is clover. This isn't really a weed per se because I wanted it. It's very beneficial for the lawn, so this is a micro clover. So I'm not going to kill this one off. But this actually has a leaf. So when we're looking at weeds in a landscape, to use the right treatments to get rid of them, so again, we can use a small amount of weed killer and just be the most effective, this actually looks like a leaf, not like a blade of grass. So this is what we deem a broadleaf weed. So when you're looking for a treatment for your lawn, you need to look for something, just determine, do I have a grassy weed, meaning the blade looks like a grass, or does it actually look like a traditional leaf of some sort? I mean, that purslane right there, that you can tell is clearly not looking anything like a grass. Now, I'm sure if I look near the edges here, I probably have a little crabgrass that snuck through also, and I do. You can see this is crabgrass. It's not bad. I wouldn't go crazy spraying this right here. It's just 1 or 2 little patches. Once we get a hard frost, this is going to be gone. But this blade is very similar to that of my lawn. And so chemicals in our lawn don't know the difference between, most of them anyway, don't know the difference between grass and grassy weeds. So there's only a handful of treatments, so they have to say on them, if you have any weed in your yard that looks like a grass, it just doesn't look desirable. So even if you don't know what the name is, you need a weed killer that says it's a grassy weed killer. So that's kind of how everything is broken up. Broadleaf weed killers, grassy weed killers, or sedge killers. All right, so I know that went on a little bit deeper, but at the same time, that's really what I want to pay attention to. So to know that you can use the right amount of weed killers, I don't like using chemicals in the landscape, but when it comes to lawns, I just don't feel you have much of a choice. Most of us don't have the time to go around and manually pick out the crabgrass or the weeds. If you do, great. If not, then when it comes to lawn maintenance, I do recommend using the right chemical at the right time, get rid of the weeds, thicken up your grass, and that is the best suppressant for weeds, is focus on prevention, and the best preventer is to thicken up your grass. And you are just getting into the perfect time of year to renovate lawns. So like we said, just spend your time now getting rid of the weeds and a little fertilizer. We'll talk about how to renovate your lawn later. Good luck.